32 Glaring Signs Your Ex Will Eventually Come Back by Jancar. I get it. You want to know the chances of getting your ex back, so you're educating yourself on the signs that will help you determine those chances. The signs your ex will eventually come back. I commend you for your commitment, but here is some sobering advice. The more you obsess over these signs, or whether or not your ex will come back in general, the likelier it is that you'll mutilate your emotional well-being and sabotage yourself when rekindling things with your ex. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing bad about being aware of the signs your ex will eventually come back. The bad part is obsessing about them. Luckily, there is a healthier alternative to the whole thing. But before I get into it, let me start from the beginning so you'll know what we're even discussing. Do exes even come back? The answer is no. Most exes don't come back. And even if they do, keeping them after you get back together is even less likely to happen. That said, the only legit statistics on couples who broke up and got back together that we have are from Kevin Thompson. Kevin made a 3,000 plus participant study in which he found that 30% of them reconciled with their ex, but only 15% actually stayed together for good. The other 15% split again about a year later. A skeptic would ask me, why trust this guy? He's operating in the get your ex back industry after all, an industry notorious for ripping people off. Well, trust him because I and a bunch of other legit personalities are stumbling on the same results. Jesse Martin from Rapid Breakup Recovery, Rory from The Love Chat, and Corey Wayne from Understanding Relationships being the most vocal. Again, a skeptic may ask, why trust these people? Well, even though Jesse, Rory, and Corey help people get their ex back, their business is not based on that premise alone. The topic takes a backseat role in it. So making up some crazy statistics about whether exes come back or not is not much use to them. It's also a good sign that their online businesses have no history of overhyped products, shady marketing, or hyper-promotional and spammy behaviors. What influences the odds of your ex coming back? There are many factors to consider. The length of your relationship, the intensity of the emotional connection you shared with your ex, the frequency of met and unmet emotional needs, the amount of mutual respect and trust between you, the compatibility of your unique communication styles, the compatibility of your values, beliefs, and lifestyle choices, the commitment level you shared, the age bracket you fall into, the attraction level your ex has for you. There are plenty more factors that influence how often exes come back, factors so intricate and vague that they're almost entirely unmeasurable. And that's fine, because that's how relationships are. Complex, chaotic, unpredictable. You've just got to stomach this uncomfortable reality. The signs your ex will eventually come back. Below are 32 signs your ex will eventually come back. To be clear, just because your ex displays them doesn't necessarily mean they actually will get back together with you. Think of them more as signals of high interest and not necessarily guarantees for reconciliation. 1. Your ex initiates contact. The context is usually irrelevant. If they initiated it, assuming they aren't interested in discussing logistics like children, pets, living arrangements, work, or possessions, it's a sign they'll come back. 2. Your ex contacts you regularly and responds quickly and enthusiastically. The more frequently these things happen, the higher the likelihood they'll come back. 3. Your ex is curious about you. For example, they keep asking how you're doing, how your studies are going, how your career is unfolding, or even how your dating life is turning out. The more questions they ask, and the more personal and inquisitive, the more plausible a reconciliation. 4. Your ex keeps contacting you even though you've told them to stop. Translation: they're panicking. On the one hand, this is good. It raises the odds of your ex coming back. But on the other, it can be downright disastrous. You can't build a stable and healthy relationship on a bedrock of panic. 5. Your ex drunk texts or drunk calls you. You know those 1 a.m. monologues you get about how much your ex hates you yet misses you, but only because they want to fuck you, but then again would consider something more serious. Good shit. 6. Your ex reaches out on special occasions/holidays. If your breakup happened a long time ago, this probably isn't a sign your ex will come back, but a gesture of kindness. However, if your breakup happened recently, it might be. 7. Your ex keeps creating excuses to talk to you. I just remembered I left XYZ at your place. Or, I just want to know how your family is doing. The truth is, they couldn't care less about these things. They're just using them to get in touch with you because they want you and are probably scared or don't know how to tell you that up front. 8. Your ex apologizes for what went wrong. They own their mistakes and express them. For instance, they say, "I'm sorry I acted so controlling when we were together. I know I have a problem. I'm getting help tomorrow." 9. Your ex prolongs your conversations. This means that whenever you'd like to end a conversation, they come up with more questions to keep you from getting away. So, if you notice your ex is prolonging conversations that should have ended 10 exchanges ago, it's probably a sign they'll come back. 10. Your ex brings up past hurts. For example, they tell you, "When you did XYZ, it made me feel let down, unloved, or hurt." Statements like that indicate that your ex still cares, so interpret them as signs they'll come back. 11. Your ex brings up old memories in good light. For example, "Remember the time we went to that park and I snorted cocaine off your tits while you were having an epileptic seizure? Yeah, good times." 12. Your ex places themselves into your orbit. Sometimes they'll purposely go to places where you'll be at. So if you keep seeing them wherever you go, it might be because they are deliberately placing themselves there to make it easy for you to re-attract them. 13. Your ex makes non-accidental eye contact. Humans are wired to make eye contact with whatever they find interesting and are curious about. So if your ex keeps looking at you when you're in the same place, or if they stare at you while you talk, they are probably still interested. 14. Your ex displays positive body language. For instance, whenever you're around, they check you out, face toward you, smile a lot when interacting, and laugh too much when you're telling them stupid or corny jokes that you know aren't funny. 15. Your ex is standing close to you while you are talking to them. If they're standing slightly within your bubble of personal space, you could consider it a sign they'll come back. 16. Your ex approaches you. This goes without saying, although a lot of people are oblivious to it. If you're going about your day and your ex suddenly approaches you, it's a sign they'll come back. 17. Your ex ditches their friends for you, meaning they cancel their plans and leave their friends behind so they can spend more time with you. This is often a difficult thing to do for your ex, so consider it a huge sign they'll come back if they do it. 18. Your ex stays in touch with your family. Always consider the context in this case. If they don't have any reason to stay in touch, it's probably a sign they'll come back. But if they're simply close with your family, it usually means nothing. 19. Your ex hangs out / contacts your friends and asks about you. For example, they ask them how you're doing, how you're feeling, what's going on in your life, and whether or not you missed or mentioned or still love them. An offshoot of this sign would be when your ex gets their friends to contact you to tell you something in their name. 20. Your ex defends you, meaning they jump to your defense and often take your side when, say, certain people are talking shit about you. They're subcommunicating in this case that they're on your team and that you can rely on them. It's a massive sign they'll come back. 21. Your ex blocks and unblocks you. Normally, these block-unblock gestures are simply made out of kindness, so I wouldn't think much about them. But if your ex keeps blocking and unblocking you repeatedly, then that's probably a sign they'll come back. 22. Your ex keeps making social media posts about you, meaning they're splattering their social media with cringeworthy inspirational quotes, sayings about empowerment and independence, or just about anything out of the ordinary. 23. Your ex tries to make you jealous. For example, they start posting provocative pictures with attractive people of the opposite sex, or begin bragging to their friends about how great they're doing, how much fun they're having, and how much they're dating. 24. Your ex gets jealous when they find out you're dating other people. A dead giveaway. If they didn't have feelings for you anymore, they couldn't care less about who you're dating. 25. Your ex wears something that was yours or that you have given them. This is most commonly a piece of clothing. Think of it as a comfort object, an item used to provide your ex with psychological comfort while you aren't there with them. 26. Your ex is second-guessing the breakup. We all second-guess our breakups, so it is normal if your ex does it from time to time, and it doesn't mean anything in that case. But if they keep second-guessing to the point where it becomes a borderline obsession, it's a sign they'll eventually come back. 27. Your breakup was never official. If your ex never told anyone that he broke up with you, it could indicate that they will come back. But then again, they may be just shy of telling others about your breakup. This is usually the case for younger couples. 28. You have an on-off relationship with your ex. This is a relationship where two people continually keep breaking up and getting back together. And while cultivating such a relationship does mean your ex will eventually come back, it's a pretty toxic dynamic to be caught in. Consider getting out for good. 29. You broke up in the heat of the moment. Sometimes emotions make us say and do things we really didn't want to say or do. One of which is ending a relationship or calling our ex some degenerate slur or doing something devious so that they end it. 30. Your ex talks about the future with you. For example, they bring up plans or trips or bigger things like marriage, kids, and settling down. 31. Your ex shows a lot of affection when you meet up with them and when you are away. For example, when you meet up, they stand and sit close to you, bump their knee into yours, touch your arm, or jump into them, grab your hand, kiss you, or are all over you. And when you're away, they buy you gifts, write you notes or poems, sprinkle many affectionate emojis throughout their texts, or they compliment you. 32. Your ex is blatant about the fact that they still have feelings for you. For example, they want to make you happy, seek your approval, tell you how much they love and miss you, ask you to meet up, and, of course, to get back together. Why you shouldn't obsess over the signs your ex will eventually come back. Because of these 3 killer consequences. Number 1. Misinterpretation. Below are 4 signs indicating your ex will eventually come back that keep popping across many other breakup advice websites. These are the sort of signs I would deem inaccurate at best, dangerous at worst. Number 1. Your ex will come back if they express happiness about your achievement/growth, meaning they congratulate, compliment, and tell you how much you've changed for the better. Why did I Christ in this sign as bullshit? Because lots of people, including myself, have no problem expressing happiness toward their exes even when they don't want them back. Number 2. Your ex will come back if they're nostalgic. Again, bullshit. People get nostalgic about their exes all the time, even when they don't want them back. Hell, we get nostalgic for all sorts of things we would never want to repeat. Sloppy one-night stands, shallow parting buddies, waking up in the middle of the street shit-faced. Number 3. Your ex will come back if you had a good relationship and a lot of chemistry with them. Sometimes I wonder if breakup advice is written for glue-eating 12-year-olds. It just doesn't make sense sometimes. Number 4. Your ex will come back if you both understand what led to the breakup. One last time. Bullshit. You and your ex knowing what went wrong in your relationship is by no means a sign that they'll come back. I know most of what I've done wrong in my previous relationships, including what my ex has done wrong, and I still wouldn't go back to any of them. 2. Stress and self-sabotage. There is a general consensus in psychology. The more you obsess about something, the more stressed and frustrated you will feel. And the more stressed and frustrated you feel, the higher the likelihood of displaying irrational, needy, and self-destructive behaviors. In your case, these behaviors include spamming your ex's phone, showing up at their place unannounced, sending them cheesy love letters, overanalyzing their responses, attempting to game them, or stalking them on social media and accidentally liking a post from 2015. Sometimes obsessing over the signs your ex will come back can eventually lead to rumination, a tendency that causes a person to spend an inordinate amount of time worrying, figuring out, trying to understand, analyzing, or clarifying a thought or theme. It's also one of the core characteristics of OCD, which stands for Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. If you can't get your ex out of your mind, consider seeing a therapist, preferably one specializing in cognitive behavioral therapy. Number 3. Warped expectations. I was terrified of air travel as a kid. I thought it was only a matter of time before the plane's engine malfunctioned and made us plummet into oblivion. And the more I focused on the explosion, then fire and smoke, and the screaming people that swooshed out of the airborne plane like confetti, the more my fear expanded, blinding me from reality. Suddenly, things like turbulence, flickering lights, and tired expressions of crew members quickly all became signs of impending doom. The mental vomit I've gone through in my childhood is the same mental vomit you'll go through if you keep obsessing over the signs your ex will eventually come back. For example, when your ex asks for their stuff back, you'll idiotically jump to the conclusion that they still love you and want to come back. So you'll start acting like a desperate psycho and blow your shot. In reality, they probably just wanted their stuff back. Optional. Top questions about the signs your ex will eventually come back. How do you know if your ex will eventually come back for sure? Out of all the signs, if your ex is reaching out regularly, is enthusiastic, talks about the future, shows affection when you meet up or when you're away, and is blatant about still being interested, they will surely come back. But you never really know these things and how they will pan out, so it's best if you just get better at handling the uncertainty. How do you know if your ex secretly wants you back. I wrote an entire article on this topic that you can read on my website, maxjancar.com. But here's a quick and dirty rundown of the most glaring signs. Your ex is pissed off at you. They keep your stuff. They place themselves into your orbit and pretend like it was an accident. They tell their friends to spy on you and gather intelligence. They keep checking your socials. And they don't disconnect you from shared online services like Netflix or Apple Music. How do you know when your ex is truly done with you? Again, I wrote an article about this topic that you can read on my website, maxjancar.com. But here's another rundown of the most glaring signs. Your ex told you to move on, blocked you, is avoiding you, removed you from their social media, is cold and indifferent toward you, doesn't want to meet up, speaks badly about you, and returns your stuff. How long does it take for an ex to come back? From what I've seen, it takes about 1 to 6 months post-breakup. But note, this number only takes into account couples who were in long-term relationships. Most that were in short-term ones, excluding those in toxic relationships, almost never mend their relationship. A better way to determine if your ex will come back. Healing, rebuilding your life, and getting the best chance to get your ex back is a bitch when you're using most of your mental capacity and waking energy to focus on the signs they'll come back. To improve your chances, stop obsessing about these signs. Omit them. Fuck the odds. Focus on yourself and find something more important than getting your ex back. And I know this shift is difficult, but it is worth it. Consider the upsides of the whole thing. You'll preserve mental energy that you can then redirect toward personal growth and recovery. The things that actually get your ex to come back. You'll be less reactive toward your ex and thus more attractive. And the more attractive you are, the higher your chances of getting back with them get. You'll have more time to think about why you broke up, learn from your mistakes, and not screw up again in the same way if you actually do get back together. You'll stop asking yourself, will my ex come back, or do exes come back, and instead focus on what actually matters. Whether getting back with your ex is even worth it. Spoiler, it's usually not. Paradoxically, it's only through letting your ex go and investing in yourself that you get the best chance of getting them back. And it's the identity level changes you make in yourself, and the identity level change they make in themselves, that keep you together once you rekindle things. So stop fussing over the signs your ex will come back. If they want you back, they'll let you know. They'll in some way, shape or form, communicate that they want to try again. Be that in a form of a committed relationship, friends with benefits relationship, or casual dating. If that happens, just be honest and tell them that you want them back as well. From there, invite them on a date and start mending your relationship. And while this is difficult, for it demands mutual personal growth, introspection, emotional work, patience, and usually even therapy, it is possible. But even if your ex never contacts you again or rejects your reconnection attempts, it is still a win. Because them not coming back creates a space in your life for an even better person to take their place. And although you might not believe me, there is always a better person to take your ex's place. Always.